And imagine how many women will be empowered in every constituency, because the school uniforms will be tailored in the constituencies. And you can see what Brian is talking about, the cotton which people are growing in all these farming areas will now turn into cloth. So we'll have the use of that cloth. So let's give kudos and let's amplify the uniform and school books over which Brian is offering. Secondly, I listened to all of you. Shishua said we should look at the character of a person. HH, from the time he became president of the UPND, is never held. He stands alone in the party. His character. So what's the difference between him and Kaunda? Ask yourself to say, what's the difference between HH and Kaunda? Because they're the same cloth. Kaunda didn't, Kaunda used to hold elections every 5 years at Mlungushro Authority. But who did to stand against him? We have the history of the people. At least in UNIP, they even tried. But we have the history of what happened to those people who stood against Kaunda. So when you look at the character of HH, he's got the mentality of a one-party state. That's why even these elections, they're unusual. Because if you see Brian was supposed to, why should Brian, who had a political party career, why did they have to look for a special vehicle papers, whatever they're calling it, to just be found on the ballot box? A lot of people are saying, no, the opposition have failed to fill in 200 and something members of parliament. How could they? They had only 2 months to prepare. They're even lucky to be on the ballot box in the first place. This guy didn't want to be opposed in this 2026 election. Call a spade a spade. Call out what you see. We've got, you know, the goodness of Zambia is like repeating history. We already have these things, they've happened before. Now they might just be happening now because it's the young generation. They don't know the history of this country because we don't have the schools which teach history. If we had the schools which could have been teaching us the history, we would have known what HH is doing happened before. Kaunda did that. It's a multi-party system, but if other political parties are not even allowed to fly, it's not the general you're talking about that SAFU can stop the flying permit. It's been given instructions. I've always told the Zambian people to say, it's the governance of this country is about one man. It's the presidency. Once you have the presidency, the judiciary, the parliament, all these become rubber stamps. The power is in one man's decision. So once he just gives that order, say these guys won't fly, they won't fly. So you are actually blaming the wrong person. He was just given that instruction. Do you think a general himself can give an instruction to say in a multi-party system, say no, there will be no flying zone? It's all one person who's made that decision. So we call him what he is. You know, what is the legacy of the PF? That's the one which everyone talks about. Right now, the PF is with him anyway, they're in an alliance. The PF is not dead. The PF, well, according to the Register of Society, it's in an alliance with UPND. So those who remained, who are no longer even in the PF, why should you blame them? And for instance, you must look at it this way. Makebi Zulu was just Minister of Eastern Province. Brian Mundubile was Northern Province, or somewhere there. Those guys were never sitting in cabinet. And secondly, as I say, the powers lays in the presidency. So if Brian was against what it is in Zambia, we must face it. It's not collective leadership in Zambia. It never happens. So blaming shift to them to say, no, what happened in PF, what's the legacy? The legacy of the PF are beautiful. They've done more infrastructure than any other government. Michael Sata under his government, after just been in government, he made the Mongo Kalabo Road. I was surprised that the Minister of Infrastructure, Mr. Mlupi, goes to Kalabo and blames the PF for not finishing the road from Kalabo, which is 95 kilometers to the Congo border. He's been Minister of Infrastructure for 5 years. What has he done about it? Michael Sata made the most difficult road, cutting it through the plain, the floods. He put a bridge, actually it's a bridge, it's not a road. So it was very easy for him to finish off the 95 kilometers, which is on high ground. 5 years they've derailed the link 8,000. When you go to government offices, any provincial government office, there's a big